All right, recording in progress. We are
Hold
here.
on before you start.
We are here. Okay, started over there. We are live on here and also on Twitter, live spaces. Doc, Rio, and I, Neni Carolina Chacin, again on the Right Brain, Left Brain show. We are here to discuss some special topic because this weekend we're recording right before the Valentine's Day weekend. And so we thought it would be appropriate to have a topic, cultivating relationships. Now, neither of us are relationship coaches, but we have our own opinions as right brainers about how to cultivate relationships. So, Doc, how are you doing? And of course, I have here the theme is Valentine's, so it's flowers and flowers. I love flowers. So go ahead, Doc.
Yes, cultivating relationships. Now, that's something we talk about often because, each and every day we need to spend more time, connecting with people. I think a lot of people spend a lot more time worried about what they're going to sell, the product they're going to sell, the service they're going to sell, and what they need to post. As a matter of fact, it's killed me today. I'm in an NFT room and I'm listening to this NFT room and I'm listening to this group of people talk about all these things. And they consistently were telling each other, well, what do you want to share to your public? What do you want to share to your audience? What do you want to do for your audience? But not thinking of the opposite end of this. It's not about what we want to do for our audience. It's what we want to, or what our audience needs for us to do to serve them. And that's the biggest thing about relationships. If you're building a product or a service or a product or project, we all should be finding out if the people in the community need it. And in order to do that, we kind of have to have a relationship with the people in the community. And so I want to continue with this relationship aspect, not just because of business, but also because we have to have that same kind of approach when it comes to relationships that are intimate. Our intimate relationships, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. It's Valentine's Day weekend. And when we talk about intimate relationships, how many of the folks out there we know, including me or us for that matter, are dating somebody right now? And if we're dating somebody, are we really optimizing how we can really cultivate that relationship better, optimizing the process? Because you see, it's not just about, hey, we're together and each and every day we're going to do whatever we want. And I can tell you everything about me, or I can tell you not enough about me. It's about give and take and actually connecting with people day by day and building that, like as you told me the other day, that romance that we have in our relationships, and keeping that romance and keeping that mystery and growing that relationship. So that's just a quick take on it. What about you? What do you have?
Well, that's a very good point, knowing exactly what they need, because maybe for Valentine's Day, our partners or a dating partner, maybe all they need is a time off alone in a desert or in a spa, or maybe at the beach by themselves reading. And then we're trying to give them time with us, but no, maybe they need time alone because they've been cooped up. Maybe they're busy with their children, maybe they're busy with work, and they just need some quiet time by themselves. So it's really interesting. Maybe we're wanting to be with them, but they wanted to be alone. And it doesn't mean that they don't love, that we're not loving each other. It's just knowing what the other person need will be, and giving it to them is going to be appreciated much more than giving them what we think we want to give and what we are here to give. So, for example, I think that's a great point, and I 100% agree. We have to find out what they need so that we can actually serve them better. But of course, we have our own skills and we have our own things that are strongest to give. But sometimes those things that are strongest to give may not be exactly what our audience needs. And then that's when we collaborate with other people. But how can we collaborate with other people if we don't have a communication, a relationship, established connection? So that's the key. So it's okay if what the audience needs, you don't have what the audience needs, because then you can reach out and have a collaboration and reach out to the people and connect them to the resources, to the people, to the businesses, and to the services and products that they need. So isn't that a great solution? Because if you don't have it, it doesn't mean that because you can't give the service or product or whatever they need, that you cannot facilitate the deliverance of that service and product and whatever they need. So that is why it's important not only to to communicate with your audience, but communicate with all the people alongside us that have other services and products that maybe they're opposite, that maybe they're different. So maybe you have a client that needs something that you do not provide, and it's totally something different from a different business, from a different area of business, but you know somebody else who can provide that. So for example, maybe you're not a flower store. I'm surrounded by flowers now. You're not a flower store, but your client is desperately in need for flowers this weekend. Then how about you connect them with your business relationship that you've been building with the local flower store, or one person that you're working with. Maybe it's another client that has a flower store. Say, hey, you know what? I have a client, or I know someone that needs your service, and I'm gonna connect with you. And at the beginning, it may be a transparent transaction just like that. But I did make a post today when I didn't make a post. I created the quote, when everybody eats, everybody is happy. So when we are all satisfied in nature, when the whole ecosystem is satisfied, the ecosystem survives. So when we are all sharing our resources, it's like we all eat at the table. When we all eat at the table, we're all happy. So it doesn't matter that because you don't have that sale, that you're not going to be benefiting from it, because giving the sale to a different business or a different friend that needs the connection will actually eventually come back to you. Maybe it's not through the same way, but in a different way. So that is very good point, knowing the needs and then how to connect in the same line with other people to bring those things that our audience needs without you even having to provide it, and then establishing that connection. So those relationships need to be built weekly, monthly, and sometimes daily. So what are you doing right now to build those connections?
Well, I'm spending a lot more time. I'm here. Yeah. What happened?
I think the battery's gonna run out.
No. Well, go back to the recording, and she lost battery power. But I spent a lot of time myself actually focusing on how I can build and cultivate relationships, because I think for me, the most important part of that was it was a big challenge. I spent a lot of years avoiding people because I felt that in my relationships, in what was going on in my relationships, is that people were attracted to being around me for whatever reason that they had. And the fact that they had a reason to kind of be attracted to me personally, or attracted to speaking with me personally, was kind of, I want to say, kind of daunting for me. It was challenging for me in the sense that every time I saw or met with people, I felt like they had an ulterior motive for meeting with me. And so I was putting up this wall. I was consistently putting up a wall to people when they came to kind of connect with me, that I wanted to keep them at arm's distance. Because maybe in the past, with my mother and things of that nature that were unresolved in my heart, that I realized that I was putting up a wall for, because it was those relationships that, those issues in those relationships that had me have this fear of trusting people. If you don't fully trust someone, yeah, we can communicate all day long, but if we're not at least giving each other the trust and satisfaction that we're not really receiving from them, we're just hearing what they're saying and then going on to something that we want to share. When we have the trust, we're actually listening attentively. We're actually active listening is what I call it, because active listening has to do with when you hear a concept, you're ready to say something about it. However, you're stopping yourself from saying something about it so you can hear more about this person's point of view. And sometimes I've been in that boat where, you know what somebody's going to say, or you think you know what somebody's going to say in advance. And I've been one of those people who are blessed with the idea that I do sometimes know what people are going to say in advance. However, giving someone the space to say it, is more powerful. You see, because when I do give someone the space to say it, even though I might not have the attention span to sometimes to wait, but when I do give them the space to say it, I notice that they receive whatever I want to give back much quicker because I gave them that space. They're able to open up their ears more and receive and communicate with me better. So it's kind of a give and take on that end. And so I've noticed for me that when I was putting up these walls, I spent a lot of years just avoiding people. I like get to know people, and then I feel like they want to get to know me and they want to hang with me more. And I'm like, why do they want to hang with me? I don't really have anything to offer them that I felt, that would make them want to hang with me so much. However, it was my energy. It's my attitude. It's my positivity that people were connecting to. And I was accusing people of being vampires who weren't. I mean, not that they were, or not that I was accusing them, but I automatically is like, oh, this is another vampire. Let me give them arm's distance. I wasn't giving myself an opportunity to build those relationships. So these days, I'm spending more and more time connecting with people and allowing them to get past that wall. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a certain space that you have to stop people so that you can protect yourself. However, if we don't allow them in at all, then we don't allow them the opportunity, or we don't allow ourselves the opportunity to trust them. And so for me, I have been allowing myself to trust other people, get to know other people, get to know what they're doing, and actually listen more to their life, because you never know what they're going to say that's going to connect with you, that's going to resonate with you, that's going to help you change your trajectory. It's going to help you change your life. So I think that communication is part of what I was saying before. Micro changes every day helps us grow a little bit, or helps us grow along the way. That's the quote I said. But, it's the idea, if we're growing a little bit by little bit, by little bit, by little bit, then eventually those little bits will combine into something bigger. And I talk about this all the time. When you're in a community, right, and you're listening to information and you're working with information, you might be overwhelmed with all that information. You might be slammed with all of it. But if you're just taking bits of it, by bits of it, by bits of it, eventually it's not going to be so much information.
It's not overwhelming.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not overwhelming. You're going to take one bit and you're going to start to learn that one bit. And when you get to that done learning that one bit, you can add another bit to it. And as you add bits to it, it becomes a part of that bigger tree that you're building, or that bigger piece of art, or that bigger business, or that bigger, I want to say, relationship that you're building, because each piece allows us to connect even more along the way. So I don't know if I went off on a tangent on that, but I just feel like now I've learned that if it feels overwhelming, just take a little bit, just have a little conversation with them, and then come back, revisit that conversation. And the more I revisit that conversation, the stronger that relationship builds.
I 100% agree, because sometimes when we see the scope of something that, oh my God, I have to connect. Like I told you before, I have to connect with all my contacts from now on. Like, oh my God, just in my contacts, I have over 2,000 people. And then I want to connect with all the people in my Facebook. That's a very huge reach. So what do? Just step by step. You break it down in smaller steps. And some of the things that affect procrastination actually is things that seem too overwhelming. And if you take things step by step, you break it down in action. But you have to know why you're procrastinating. But one of the reasons is taking step by step. If you break it down, the task seems too big and you can't start because this task seems too big. So if you don't know, and the other reason is you don't know how to do something. So you don't know how to do a task. You don't know how to communicate at start. So how about just say, hey, what are you doing? For example, if you want to follow up in a cold call, well, not cold, but to a contact that you already contacted before, if you want to just reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? Tell me, how has it been lately? Especially the pandemic is a big excuse for people to reach out and say, hey, it's been a while. we haven't connected before. How about, is there anything that you need? So just like that, if we're just exactly what we were just talking before, asking them what they need. Can I support you with something? So that's another expression. What is there anything that you need that I can help you with? Or is there any way I can support you? Or is there any, are there any businesses or people that I can connect you with? Can I introduce you to somebody? What kind of people would you like me to introduce you to? So just offer something from the get-go, from the opening. That's one way to break the ice and start connecting with these relationships. If you don't know how, these are some examples. If you don't know, it's too overwhelming, just break it into pieces. If you don't have a structure, that's another way of procrastinating when you want to reach to people. Maybe you don't have a system or a structure. So establish a system. What are you going to do first? Are you going to go first in your contacts on your Rolodex? Are you going to first do the social media contacts? Or maybe you're just going to go whoever texted you last. So if you have a structure and a way to systemize it, like say, okay, I'm going to have a procedure. First, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. Not just know how, what is it, the communication that you're going to use, but a structure of what to do next. Then you also will feel that you procrastinate because you don't know where to start. So if you don't know where to start, then put a structure to it. And this applies to everything that you're procrastinating on. And there are other two ones, but for that, you're going to have to DM us for some free coaching so that we can reveal the next secrets.
and I just want to add this, and this is just a little separate side thought. Can you rotate your phone 180 degrees? I know that sounds weird.
Oh, okay.
Basically, the camera on the opposite side.
Down.
Now you're looking at me.
Yeah. Am I?
No, it's a little thing that I talk to people all the time about multimedia. When we're recording on our phones, our automatic thought is, oh, hey, I'm broadcasting. Oh, I'm going to turn it this way. And then when we turn it this way, it's usually the opposite direction of our hand that we need to turn it. And so like when we have it, if we turn it the opposite direction, that allows us to look straight at the screen instead of off to the side. And so I tell people that all the time. And so I just like, okay, for me, it's part of that relationship thing. It is definitely part of that relationship thing. When I'm talking to people on the camera, and I remember JT saying this, man, you're looking all around, you're looking left, you're looking right. I have to look left to see people when I'm talking to them. However, if I'm talking to them, I need to be looking at the camera, because when I'm talking, people are looking at me and they want me to look at them. And I was like, oh man. So a lot of times people will see me look left or whatever. And then when I get ready to talk, I'll change. I won't even look at the screens. I'm just looking at the camera and listening. And what I've noticed that does is it actually helps me what we were talking about earlier, that active listening. Because now I have to listen harder, because I don't get to see the body language. I don't get to, get all the feeling of it. So I'm in coaching sessions, meetings, founders meetings, and I'm like, I really want to see what the person moved, but I got to look right here so it feels comfortable for everybody else. So it's just one of those things. And I think it helps us with communication as well. So I just wanted to add that. And now, yes, now I'm getting the full Neni profile. Now, even though your eyes may be sometimes looking this way, but your profile is looking straight ahead of the camera. I love it. So
yeah, no, that's much better for sure. And that is something that actually I do when I record some of the videos. I actually look at the camera, even though I want to see myself, but I look at the camera because it's kind of awkward to do it, but you got to get used to it.
Yes.
But the videos come up better because right now I'm looking at the camera and right now I'm looking at you. So it's very different.
And it's funny, when you look at the camera, you're looking directly at me. When you're looking at it right now, because
I know. When I look at the camera, I'm looking at you. Yeah.
But when you flip it the other way and you look at the camera,
so
it's
I'm looking at you right now.
It's so weird. You'll see it. You'll see it when you come in a recording, and I don't know why that's set up that way, but it should. I don't know why it does that, but it should just automatically sense where you're at.
Awesome, and that segues. So that segues into body language and communication. So when we're open, our hands are not crossed, we're looking straight to the eye, We are really focusing there. And whenever we are on calls, like on Zoom, or even your own calls on FaceTime or any other video, it's important to look, because if I'm looking outside of the things that are happening, maybe somebody's talking to me over there, maybe I see something there, it loses the energy. And what people want from you is not so much what you have to say, is actually they want your attention and your energy. They want you 100% energy focus on you. If I am listening to a Clubhouse room while I'm talking on the phone, that probably is not a good idea. So make sure that you give your relationships all the energy that you have in that moment. And you know what is much more respectful. I learned this from one of my coaches as well. It's much more respectful to say, listen, I know we're getting in a call soon, but I am not in 100% energy. I'd rather reschedule it to give you all my energy and attention than giving you halfway my energy, because I'm gonna be like in a little droopy, or gonna be this, I haven't eaten, whatever it is that is happening. It's better to offer them 100% of you than to offer them half of you. They will actually appreciate that. And if you talk to them like that, like, you know what, my energy is not up to par, let me rest and take a half-hour nap and then call you back, and that's even better. So if you are honest like that and give them 100% of your energy, is better than if you like not giving it right away just because you set the appointment. And it's better if you do that. And especially for coaches or a business owner that is discussing some interesting idea, some business idea, you want to have everything. Like, of course, we have a special dynamite coach that is on and has all the energy full time. But of course, how to keep that throughout the day in, day out, every single day, 24/7, 365, you need to take care of your body. Because your energy, of course, it comes from the things that you're inspired and motivated. And of course, there's some inner will, but you're still inside a body. So you need to sleep, you need to eat to recharge. So I have water here, so I can hydrate myself. Oops.
Drip drops.
I have
Electrolytes.
a nice, yeah, exactly. So you better be energized. So nourish yourself with food, the right food for you, appropriate for you, the right hydration, the right number of hours for sleep where you can feel rested so that you can look good in the videos, and also have enough energy to give to your audience, to give to you the relationships that you have, the people that you communicate with, even if it's family, because you don't want to, just because it's family doesn't mean that you're not going to respect and talk to them with as much energy as you talk to your clients, right? And as much energy as you talk to with a new prospect client, with a new relationship that you're building, with a new date that you're having. So your family is just as important. So every single person in your life, if you have this rule in your life that you're going to treat everybody in your life just as good, then you better be full energy. And one way to have full energy 24/7 is to take care of your body. And of course, you need to take care of, nourish your mind by reading things that in biographies. Maybe you have watch a documentary. So always choose education over entertainment. So maybe you watch a video, maybe you watch a TV show, maybe you watch a movie, but choose education over entertainment. And if you do that throughout your life, oh my God, the relationships are going to be more nourished. They're going to cultivate for sure, because the things that you learn, you can exchange, and then you can have topics of conversation with people that are much successful than you. You can have topics to reflect for the content of the sales, marketing, and branding of your own business. You have ideas to come up with new collaborations from the things that you see, the things that you read. So that is very important, to nourish your mind. And lastly, to nourish your soul. What are the time of reflecting for yourself? What is the time? We're talking about that Clubhouse room yesterday, Wellness with Joshua Jordan, and Clubhouse every Tuesday at 1 p.m. And that was a little plug in there. We were talking about that, like, nourish your body, your mind, and your soul. Whatever practice that you have, maybe you are not religious, maybe you're an atheist, but just cultivate that time for your spirit, for your inner energy to be complete every single day. Just a tiny bit, like you said, just a little step, a little thing. Maybe it's one break of 5 minutes. And that, believe it or not, if you have a break of 5 minutes, that's not going to take away from the stuff that you're doing. And if you do that consistently throughout the days, throughout the years, the weeks and months, you're going to be so good. You're going to feel healthier. You're going to be stronger. And that is, what do you think about that, Doc?
I think, part of being present in the now, should we say, is paying attention to ourself, our health, our mindset, our ability to generate energy. And so I like how you started with the idea of, being present. How can we be more present in these conversations? How can we be more present in these relationships? And part of that is not being distracted by things that we're not doing right for ourselves and our body and our physical, our physical presence, because, the mind and the body are connected. And a lot of people know that. However, do we think that way when we do things? I spent a lot of years, I've known since I was a child that the mind and body are connected. However, I spent 28 years smoking cigarettes. Those type of things were in the way of my growth. Now in 2011, I stopped smoking cigarettes. And it's been a journey since then to make sure that that addiction that's been in the back of my head that sometimes comes up every once in a while is suppressed, is not necessarily suppressed, but I want to say understood so that I can treat it properly. Because understand that an addiction is more like a disease. And I think a lot of people may look at it as, as addiction is just a habit. However, an addiction can be a disease to some people because it depends on how the addiction has shaped and taken fold in somebody's life. And if that habit is not only becoming something that the body actually starts to need. You see, when we start to put stuff in our body that's not supposed to be there and we start to continually do it, I just want to reference something that I saw in the story of Bubba Fett. And it's just so funny. He was talking about these little balls that these the sand people use to get water, to get black manna, they call it, out of. And it's because they live in the desert. There's no water. They're in the middle of the desert. And so they found these black balls that are under the earth. And these black balls, when you pop them open, they have manna and you start to taste it, and it's acquired taste. And I never heard this before about those black balls because I've seen them for years, through different storylines, but I never heard this line that he said afterwards. He said, it's an acquired taste, but after you drink it for a while, you start craving it. And it's their water, it's their manna, it's their life source. But if it's something that, can be replaced with something that's better for you, that's not making you crave it, that's not making you addicted to it, then I think that's what we need to look for. And so when we start to look at our bodies, there's an addiction that most of us have that we don't even understand. And high fructose corn syrup is that addiction. It's a sugar addiction. And so I spend a lot of time when I'm in shopping for food, when I'm looking for bread, specifically bread, I go through and read all the labels because I'm hyperactive. And I know that hyperactivity connects with that high fructose corn syrup, and it shoots me through the roof even higher, and it doesn't allow me to sleep sometimes. It doesn't allow me to exercise right. It doesn't allow me to do things that are better for my body. And some people, they don't have the high metabolism like I do. That high fructose corn syrup does not break down. That sugar does not break down in their body well. And it causes obesity, or it causes sickness, and it causes diabetes. It causes all kinds of things. And so when we look at our lifestyle, we can, don't get me wrong, we can use the excuse that we don't have enough money to eat properly. And that's why we go to McDonald's. That's not what I do, but I know a lot of people that tell me that. We can't afford to eat properly, so we go to McDonald's. However, I know I've sacrificed and avoided McDonald's for many years when I didn't have money. I didn't have a dime to my pocket, but I didn't go to McDonald's to eat. And it kept me more focused on getting myself back together, getting money back in my pocket, making that dream, and not eating something that I'm eating more than once a day, because I've noticed that if I eat something with that type of fructose corn syrup, I'm hungry quicker throughout the day. So I'm not really nourishing my body. And so that's an important part. When we nourish our body, we're not distracted, so we can keep on our mission, so we can connect with people properly, and so that we can communicate properly. So that's what I think about that, Neni. What do you think?
Well, I think that when we are healthy in every single part of our body, mind and body, we can have better relationships. We can communicate better. We can generate more money, like you said. And just tying into relationships, I think that, well, the McDonald's thing is there's a whole set of things, right? Like why it's not good for you. But also there are choices in McDonald's, right? You can have a salad in McDonald's. They actually into now some healthy choices in McDonald's. And you can have only the protein, maybe the chicken, maybe the beef, without the bread, for example. Or you can order the bread and not eat it and just to have the veggies, right? So there are different choices. And even if you go to the cheapest place, it's important to know the information. So the same way as we need to know how to contact somebody for a relationship, for a follow-up, or what to say to somebody, how to understand what the audience needs to have a relationship, the same thing we have to know the relationship with ourselves. What do we need? And inform ourselves about exactly what we need. Because we have to have a relationship with ourselves, talking about relationships, before a healthy relationship with ourselves, before we have a healthy relationships with others, right? So if we know exactly what the needs of our bodies are in macronutrients, fat and carbs and fat and protein, and the micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and all the different things that we need micro, then we know exactly how to choose the things that we are going to eat. Another thing is, if we want to have a relationship with the world, now in a different scope, let's say you want to have a relationship with world and be a model Earthling. So what is the relationship that you need to have with the earth? Yeah, a model Earthling. So what is the relationship you need to have with the earth? Yeah, right, because it's a world. Like, how do you call the worlders? No, right? Earthling, right? So you're an Earthling. You're a world citizen, because I don't want to say citizen because it's not a country, right? But a model Earthling would also be, what is the relationship between you and the earth? Are you respecting the water? Are you throwing away trash in the water when you go to the beach? Are you throwing away trash in the street when you're done with your stuff? Are you taking your own cups for buying food, for drinks, or the whole movement about the straws and I have my straws here, and the recycle of the utensils, the plastic utensils. So all that stuff is our responsibility, as with our relationships with everything that is around us. The relationship with ourselves first, the relationships with our neighbors, the relationship with our family, the relationships with our friends, and in that category, friends, we have the relationship with our business connections, either clients, collaborators, and then relationship with the physical earth, relationship with our house, relationship with the parks that we interact with, relationships with the stores that we go to. Do you throw something in the floor in the store when you go visit? So that builds relationships. How you respect others' property. I'll tell you one example. Before a meeting, I went to Starbucks to get some water. It's free. So I went to Starbucks to get some water, and I went to the restroom. And in the restroom, I saw paper on the floor. Well, you know what? I cleaned the bathroom. I cleaned all the papers that were on the floor. I took some paper and I washed and I cleaned every single one and I put it in the trash, because I don't want another person to go in that bathroom and see all that dirt. It's not my property, but I have respect and I want the rest of the world to have a good experience. So why not? It's not my job, but I still do it. I worked as a sales representative in a chocolaterie in Boston called Bird Eggs. Actually, if you haven't been, there's one in Chicago, but LA Bird Eggs is called, and one in New York, one in Georgetown, and one in Boston and Cambridge. Amazing. And one of the things that we had to do for closing, if you were there as a sales partner, you had a closing, you had to wash the bathrooms. And of course, it wasn't a good area, very nice neighborhood, people are clean, but still, it's still trash. And people leave trash on the floor. So you really want to, and I appreciate that. So I appreciate that if we ended the closing after we finished the shift and you have to spend a lot of time washing the bathroom, that's time that you're going to stay there longer. Remember, we were finishing at 11 p.m. It was like January, February of 2020. I was missing Paris and I wanted to get a little side job there, and I loved it. I absolutely adored working there. But one of the things that we were doing is like, how fast can we finish closing? And that speed would be determining how long it takes for us to clean, to set everything up. And that was one. So now I really appreciate like making sure that the bathrooms are clean. So we're gonna with that gesture, we establish a relationship, even if it's quiet relationship. Maybe nobody understands, but we're actually saving some time for the workers there, for finishing the closing, for getting out of there and back to their homes. So that's the little thing. Like if you go in a restaurant and you leave everything messed up in the table, it's going to take a lot more time for the servers to prep that table and serve the next person. But also it takes more work from that person. I'm not saying that there's people not work, but I'm just saying that establishes that relationship, because when you come back to that restaurant or that cafe, that server is going to remember you, like, oh, you cleaned everything for them, but they didn't have to do as much job. So establishing relationships is about all these little things that you may not think that they're your relationships, but they are. So the world, the water, the trash that you collect, the trash that you have. I am, well, you know that, right? I'm very, very much into zero waste, very, very much. And I don't have trash for at least 2-3 weeks, the actual trash. And then I have recycle every week, but I don't really fill up that bag. I mean, I could probably go and with like 3 weeks without taking the trash out. That's how little trash I have. And it's just, I try to minimize it. Why? Because it's energy that some other company needs to produce from somewhere. That energy comes from somewhere. It's work that somebody has to work more hours. Some people are in a very, very low minimum wage and they have to work 2-3 jobs and they have to work a lot of hours. So maybe I reduce their job. Maybe I reduce the load. I mean, every single little thing that we can do affects someone. So I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, that everything may affect any relationship. And if you think of yourself and everything that you interact with, that is going to affect the relationship. And if you're just aware, like be in the present and just be aware of that, you're going to improve and cultivate all the relationships in your life and with your clients and with your collaborators and with your neighbors and with your family, because you're going to be an example. And people don't really follow what you say, they follow what you do. So if they see what you're doing, like I have dog treats in front of my house for all the doggies that come by. So I don't have a pet. Well, I do have a fish, but I have a fish, but I don't have a dog or a cat. And so I love them. So I put a treat outside and they come there, they know, and they come and they eat. So it's really, really nice to do something for your neighbors. So that means I'm cultivating that relationship of the neighbors. Everybody knows, and they bring the dog now through there. So it's really important that we really think about every single relationship that we're interacting, even if we're not having a direct relationship with them. What is your take on this?
I like that point of view. You know, projecting a future relationship or a relationship that's maybe not said, maybe not shown. However, it is shown. You know, I mean, like a lot of us some of us spend a lot more time cultivating relationships so we can show other people that we're cultivating relationships instead of just cultivating relationships to make them happen. And so I've noticed that over the years that some people are like, hey, you know, I know this person and this person. They're like, do you really know them? Or do you know what I mean? Because I know some name celebrities as well. But there are some celebrities I know them, but I don't really know them. And then there's some celebrities I know them and I grew up with them and I spend a lot of time with. However, after years, even then, after years of being away from, you know, or not around some of those relationships, you know, there's a little distance that might happen. There's a little distance that might happen between us that changes the relationship. And so if the relationship's changed along the way and we're not as close as we used to be, I may not know that person anymore. There's a couple of people I was looking at, I was like, that's not what I would expect them to do, but I guess I don't really know them anymore. And so are we cultivating those unsaid relationships, even though we might have said relationships, but not just focusing on it because people can see it, but focusing on it because it's the right thing to do. It's what we need to do to continue to build our life. You know, I think there's another side of this. We tend to not understand that we don't go further without other people. I know I've heard this a lot, that people are starting to realize, you know, you can't do it alone. However, we have so many solopreneurs out there. We have so many entrepreneurs who are not just solopreneurs. They're not even solopreneurs yet. And if it wasn't for Clubhouse, I wouldn't have ever known that. I would have always thought that half these people are, you know, authorities. And then you start listening to them talk, even on Twitter Spaces. I was listening to a room the other day. Actually, I asked a question in a room the other day. I specifically asked a question of something I knew, because that's what you learn on Clubhouse. How you get clout is you ask a question about something you already know and let them answer it and then be like, thank you, and keep going, right? So worst answer I ever got. And I'm just going to drop that statement, because I think it's important to understand my perspective on this, because I went into a room that they were talking about LinkedIn. And I am already maxed out on LinkedIn. I don't need any advice on how to do LinkedIn. I actually paid for advice already on how to do LinkedIn. And I started my statement with that I paid for advice, and that this person was telling me this and this and this. And I was wondering what that person thought, the other person thought. Well, come to find out, the other person was like, well, you know, I explained who I was and what I've been going through. They were like, well, you're a student. You should put that on your LinkedIn. And I'm like, no, nobody wants a student, hire a student, you know? So, you know, because I've gone back to school, you know, doesn't mean that I'm a student completely. I have experience. I'm going for a master's degree. So of course I have experience before I even got my bachelor's degree, years of experience doing what I'm doing at this point in time. So it's kind of odd for somebody to say, hey, you know, you should put student on there. And then they were like reading through my profile, but they weren't reading through my LinkedIn profile. They were reading through my Twitter profile. But the room was about LinkedIn. So why are you telling me stuff on my Twitter profile, but you're not telling me stuff on my LinkedIn profile? And I started to understand that that person is not an authority. And that person is in a position that they're giving advice to people that's bad advice. And so if we're going to cultivate relationships that are unseen, or do things like you said, Neni, go into places and clean up things just for the sake of making it better for someone else along the way, we need to think about the things that we share with other people as well. Are we giving them advice that's helped them along the way? Are we giving them advice that hurts them along the way? Are we spending time to study ourselves and pick up the information we need so that people are asking us for this information? Are we spending the time to study it so that we can give them the proper information? Or are we spending the time to kind of build information that we're just pulling out of the top of our head? are we really putting in the work in our communities? And so that's why I really like what you said. You know, you put in work in your community without anybody asking you. That's an A-player mentality. And that's what we need. We need more of us being, hey, I need to do this because I know it's right. Because the more we do that,
is giving all the energy.
yes, because the more we do that, we can share the energy and grow together. So that's what I think.
Yeah, you did. Absolutely. I think that's a very good point. Just to know exactly, have a respect, right? Respect for others, to know your shit. And pardon the S word.
That's pretty plain,
but
right there. Pretty easy.
It's like, know your shit, guys. Know your shit. Don't bullshit people. And know your shit. And if you don't know your shit, then just say, you know what? I don't know enough. I need to go and research. And that says more about you than actually just BSing people, right? So
that's my favorite line right there. I don't know. Let me look it up. Oh, we lost you for a second. Oh.
Wait a second.
No worries.
But juice in here.
Uh-oh, running out of juice again.
Oh, hold on. Can you? Yeah, can you repeat that? But
oh, I was just saying we lost you for a second. I was still laughing at what you were saying and I said we lost you for a second. So yeah. But no, I mean,
yeah, no.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's important. Like, just be honest. Be honest with what you know, what you don't know. And it's really important that you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to research it for you. Why not? It's okay. It's better if you say that, because at the end, everything's out there. We have tons of information on the internet, on libraries, on videos. We have resources with resources that can actually, we can get information from things. So it's just a matter of saying, you know what, I don't know exactly the answer to that, but I'm going to research it for you. And then you go back and then you come back with the answer. And then you get back to that relationship. That's going to nourish and cultivate that relationship much more. If you just BS and then they find out that everything that you said is not good, not right, but not good for them. It's not that it's right or wrong. It's not good for them. Again, we're going back to the original thing. What do they need? So if they need something that's going to work for them, don't give them information that you're not sure is going to work for them. Or maybe you got it from some person that is not really reliable. So just make sure that you are informed so that you can respect other people's needs, and you are you're giving them all the energy, your best that you can give them, the best that you are. So I think this is going to be a wrap now, because
I think we're running out of it.
Short. I mean, we can go talking about, Doc and I can go talking forever about things, but I think this is a good point to stop it here and let you guys tell us in the comments, what do you think about relationships? What will cultivate your relationships? What do you think you can do to cultivate your relationships? Your relationship with yourself first, then your relationship with others next, and the relationship with the earth and surroundings. What are those relationships going to look like in 1 year? We'll be checking with you next Valentine's Day to see where did you go with your relationships and how did it work. So please leave a message, like, share, tell other people about us. This is Doc Rio and Neni Carolina Chacin. We're doing this right brain and left brain show. Now we're getting a lot of episodes. Just check your other episodes if you haven't checked it yet. They're so full of information packed. Like, we have so much fun talking.
We'll be live on Twitter too, sharing it on Twitter, and even sharing snippets of the recording as well. Because this time we recorded, I went back in and I recorded live on Twitter. So I'm not going to share the whole thing. I'm going to only share a snippet of it, so that you get a taste of it. And then you can come on over and visit us. So I saw a few people coming in the room, and I thank you all for coming. And also, I love working with Neni and doing this, because it's just been a great voyage. So remember what she just said, though. It starts with us first. The first relationship we need to pay attention to is the relationship with ourselves. And we didn't really talk about that much today, but I just want to remind people of that. You're the first customer. You're your own first customer.
Know your own needs. Get informed. There's tons of resources. If you don't know, well, send us a message. Doc Rio, anywhere in social media. We are everywhere. We are every single thing that you can. The things that even you don't know, we're there. We're
True.
there. That's true. That's true. And the doc knows why. But we are everywhere, even the social media that is not out there, that is secret, we are also there. So just make sure to check us on social media, send a comment, send a message, like, share, and come back to the video so that you can get more fun with us, the Right Brain Show and Left Brain Show. We maybe have some guests sometime. So make sure that you come back. And this is Neni and Dog. And
We are out of here.
we're out. Okay.